Good morning. I'm Nikki Stanzione.
And I'm Kristen Van Dyke.
And this is New Mexico style on a victorious, triumphant morning for the United States of America.
Yeah,
proud
absolutely.
To be.
Yeah, proud to be an American.
Absolutely.
And certainly an emotional ending to last night, but I think emotional in a good way.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a minute. First, let's talk about something that is just bizarre.
Yeah.
The weather in New Mexico. What is going on? You sure get a little of everything here in New Mexico, even on May 1st.
Yeah, absolutely. And even today, we're still talking about snow out there. Yesterday, I went to Phoenix for the weekend. I knew the weather was not going to be the best here. So I was like, you know what, I'll go to Phoenix. Sunny, highs in the 80s. I left yesterday morning in Phoenix in a little tank top, but I knew that it was going to get bad, so I had my hoodie and stuff in the back. But, you know, that snowstorm that I went through, the freak snowstorm that I went through, like just east of Grants, about 20 miles before Albuquerque, west of Albuquerque, got me. I was not expecting it to be quite that bad.
I know. Aside from the fact that it was freezing cold and windy yesterday, the winds woke me up, actually, because they were so loud and frightening and biting if you walked outside. But what really got me is I'm on my computer watching TV, and I look outside, and it is full-on snowing. Full-on snow. And then 5 to 10 minutes later, it's sunny. And, you know, you lost the whole skyline. It was like the whole mountain disappeared at one point.
Yeah, and it's that case again this morning. We'll take a closer look at the weather coming up in just a little bit.
Yeah, that was a little nutty. But in the meantime, of course, the very big news of the day is the hottest topic. Let's get to it. The hottest topic this morning and around the world is the world's most wanted terrorist is dead.
Yeah, Osama Bin Laden, the man who orchestrated the worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil on September 11th, 2001, was killed by U.S. military personnel yesterday.
Indeed. The manhunt for Bin Laden came to an end in Pakistan, and Fox News correspondent Craig Boswell reports from Washington.
President Obama says U.S. officials got a lead on Osama bin Laden's location back in August, and late Sunday, Defense Department says U.S. Navy SEALs shot and killed Osama bin Laden during a raid that took about 40 minutes. President Obama announced the news of Osama bin Laden's death late Sunday evening.
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
Bin Laden was tracked to a compound being constructed in Abbottabad, Pakistan.
And finally, last week, I determined that we had enough intelligence to take action and authorized an operation to get Osama bin Laden and bring him to justice.
The Defense Department says about 40 Navy SEALs were flown into the compound Sunday, and during an intense firefight, bin Laden refused to surrender and was shot in the head. 3 other men in the compound were killed, including bin Laden's 24-year-old son. One of the 4 choppers used in the operation was destroyed, but no Americans were injured.
From a national strategy leadership, they took some very courageous decisions, and they kept it close in.
Spontaneous celebrations erupted outside the White House, and jubilant crowds gathered in Times Square. At Ground Zero, where the Twin Towers once stood, hundreds of people waved American flags and sang songs, now almost 10 years after the attacks that killed about 3,000. The White House says President Obama held 9 meetings with top national security officials leading up to Sunday's raid. Bin Laden's body has already been buried at sea. In Washington, Craig Boswell, Fox News.
USA! 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 USA!
Certainly all that unity is reminiscent of 9/11, and that's, of course, something that our president said in his speech last night is let's get back to that and remembering to unite as a country and find that unity again, and the way that we all were on 9/11, and we just remembered how we were resilient, and he said we have to remain vigilant even in the midst of this victory.
Yeah, and he said, you know, justice has been served, and it has, you know, and it's kind of weird to be celebrating or rejoicing a death, but, you know, it's justice.
Absolutely.
So certainly some emotional, and hopefully, definitely seeing that unity that we did see.
Oh, yeah, and all these large crowds. I mean, they're gathering. They've gathered, of course, across by the White House and down at Ground Zero, and it was amazing to see all these people. In fact, I don't know if you saw some of the images of the firefighters in New York together, and I mean, you can see it on the screen right now. They're cheering for peace, not death. So it's not that we're sitting, it's not that our country's so pleased and happy somebody's dead. I mean, you have to look at this as a victory for us. It's 10 years in the making, but it's a moment where we maybe can finally see some peace, and you know, that's all we really want for our country.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you get emotional about it?
I did. I stayed up really late, way past my bedtime, but I couldn't miss it, and I was just sitting there. It is, I even got teary-eyed last night, and I'm sure you did too. So.
Of course, yeah. And it's funny, real quick, I just want to say, I mentioned the skyline, how we kind of disappeared yesterday when that snow. That's what it's like for somebody from New York when you grow up with that skyline and it disappears forever. Yeah. It's just it's horrible. So, and it's something we all have to deal with. So anyway, let's talk about New Mexico, because New Mexico's congressional delegation has been reacting, of course, to the news of Bin Laden's death. Senator Jeff Bingaman says he hoped the news brings some closure to the families whose lives were irrevocably, I can't even talk this morning, changed by Bin Laden. Yeah, Representative Steve Pearce expressed how proud he was of the military and the role they played in bringing Bin Laden down. Representative Martin Heinrich said after 10 years, justice has been served. There's increased security this morning at Kirtland Air Force following the announcement of Bin Laden's death. Yeah, you can see right here. The base is now at Force Protection Condition Bravo. Anyone working at the base needs to remember to present appropriate identification to the gate to minimize all delays. And of course, we're all reminded to be especially alert and mindful of any suspicious activities. Yeah, definitely. And the U.S. Department is putting American embassies on alert and is warning Americans traveling abroad of possible attacks from al-Qaeda. Yeah, something definitely to consider in a worldwide travel alert. The State Department said Americans living or traveling abroad, particularly in the areas that have been hit by anti-American violence in the past, should really limit their travel outside homes and avoid all large gatherings. And of course, the team at our sister station, KRQE News 13, will keep on this throughout the morning and all day long. Yeah, stay with KRQE News 13 and KRQE.com for the latest on this developing story. Now, a surprisingly large crowd braved the weather we were just talking about Sunday morning to make strides against breast cancer. Yeah, runners and walkers showed up to run for the Rio Grande Zoo, too. Yes, and it's amazing to see, because it was cold. And look at that. So many people made sure that they didn't let the cold stand in the way, and that's amazing. About 12,000 people braved the winter-like weather that morning for the annual Making Strides Against Breast Cancer event at the Cottonwood Mall. News 13's Diane Anderson and Jessica Garate served as MCs for the event, raising a little more than $500,000, amazing, for breast cancer research, treatment, and early prevention. Love to see that. Yeah. Ooh, look at that weather. Gosh. Another large crowd braved the cold for the annual Run for the Zoo. A half marathon, a 10K, 2 5Ks, and a 1-mile fun run. No final numbers yet, but all the money raised benefit the Rio Grande Zoo, and that's so great to see. Can you believe that? I'm so happy for these people. Doing a run in May with gloves on. Who would have thought, right? Gear? Yeah. Well, I don't think any of these people expected that. And of course, right now in England, well, it's the royal wedding afterglow. Of course. Yeah, and you have to figure the entire country probably has a little post-wedding letdown this morning. Yes, it was such a big deal, and now it's over. Now we just have to wonder how the honeymoon will go. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, we are actually going to be talking to People magazine in just a little bit about all the hubbub in London. But we wanted to show you this picture of the royal kiss. This is my favorite image of the whole day. Yeah, the little girl on the bottom left sort of speaks for herself, doesn't it? Doesn't this picture speak for itself? Yes, that little cutie is covering her ears. She's thinking, it's bloody loud out there. If it was a little boy, he'd probably cover his ears, or his eyes, actually. She's covering her ears. He's covering his eyes. He probably didn't want to see the kiss. Yeah, that picture's probably going to haunt that child for the rest of her life. Who knew smooches could be so loud? She's thinking, get me the royal earplugs, Mummy. That's what she's thinking. That is the cutest. What a cute picture. One of my best friends from the UK, Chuck and Simone, they're engaged. They're so cute. They said, oh, maybe she should be the next judge on X Factor and sit alongside Simon Cowell. Yeah, she would be. At least she would know you would get some tough reviews there. Yeah, well, tough reviews for the weather. What will the changes bring? Oh, we're still dealing with the winter. Here's the weather forecast.